Good evening. How are you guys? Gunnar here, and it's evening broadcast again, a little bit late. Did not have time to do one during the day today, but I'm here now. Some news for you. The COVID situation in Peru right now. We passed Spain. We're number 6. Go Peru. Yeah, I'm being cynical again. But yeah, it's the numbers are not looking that great. Again, it is very regional, and yeah, here in Miraflores, where I live, things are, well, if not normal, people are sort of allowed to go out in the streets for recreation and so forth, right? I said yesterday that the shopping malls were going to open yesterday. They didn't. Um, I think it was a bit of a hastened decision to do that on Thursday. So it turned out that, and it probably wasn't that great of an idea, as Father's Day is coming up on Sunday. We would have people just being jammed packed in these shopping malls before this important date. So it stayed closed, and it will open again on Monday. So, and also the stores needed to prepare things. They weren't really ready for opening up all of a sudden. Many of the store owners also need to, and have done, renegotiate their rents. Obviously, they've had 2 months where they could not sell, and also they have the demand that they will only work at 50% capacity in their stores, which means that it's not the same value for them, of course, to have the store in these malls. So we'll see what happens on that on Monday. I also heard that there's setback on the date when the internal flights are starting in Peru. That will be on July 15 rather than on July 1st. So that possibly means also that the international flights will be pushed on forward as well. So it was said before that they thought the international flights would start at the beginning of August. Now it's more likely that that will be mid-August or the end of August. Whether or not the flights will be flying at full capacity or not is not all that clear yet. It has been proposed that there should be a seat in between the passengers, each passengers. But if that happens, then obviously price tickets will go up considerably. And whether taking all the other measures that they are taking at the airports, like at the airports now, when they start there, only the passengers are allowed inside. So like for checking in, etc. There will be no other people allowed inside the premises of the airport, family, etc. Right? Any sort of vendors like free taxi, the taxi people sort of picking up people, etc. Everyone will have to sort of wait outside or try to minimize that part as much as possible. And also they will have the social distancing, of course, with the in the lines to the airport for checking in. There will be temperature taken before they fly, and everyone is required to carry a mask when they fly. So personally, I feel, and what I read also is that the flights per se are not the big problem. The people coming all together in the airport is a bigger problem to deal with, because in the flights the air always sort of is pressed downwards. Have you ever noticed when you fart on a plane that you never smell it, right? That is, and a lot of people do because of all the pressurizing, right? The pressures make you sort of build up gas. All that gas goes down, right? So the whole system with the how the airplanes work is actually pretty good for not spreading diseases, because all the air that you sort of breathe out, everything goes down, right? So I'm sorry I had to do that analog. Anyway, so but the other thing is that they've shown that there is not that high of a risk, only to the people sitting right next to you, and whether that people is actually coughing, etc. And of course, the risk was much higher before we knew about the virus, right? Now everyone is like paranoid. They will not touch any surface. Every surface will be wiped, your hands will be wiped all the time. We're sitting there with your mouth guard. And even if you have a neighbor who did not have fever when he came in, obviously is not coughing and, on the plane either, right? So it feels like the risk is not really that high, considering that. And additionally is that it's very easy to trace back, of course, to passengers, because you will know who is sitting next to you. So if anyone has the disease and spreads it on, or you notice that, hey, after a day after you fly or something, you feel, oh wow, I got the virus, right? Wow. So they can trace back and see who's been sitting next to you and test that person also. So the flights, I don't feel that is the big problem. So we'll see what happens. I will see what the authorities will do on that one. What else? Not so much more on that. I have to put on my ugly glasses so I can see what I've been writing. A friend of mine from Sweden, after my post last night, I was doing a lot of tips on books and what I'm watching on Netflix, and I put all that in a link, and you can check that out. It's like a page on Amazon that is like an affiliate thing. So if you buy anything on that, there is like a little tiny percentage, a few percent, that will be a commission for me recommending that to you, and that could be another small stream of income. Not that I have that many. I'm not making a lot of music on my bird party song, a lot of money on my bird party song, that's for sure. I think I've sold like two or three downloads so far. That's yeah. So I'm a world famous rocker. Anyway, but if you want to buy, if you want to check out the books that I recommended, and I know these personally, these books are good books, so you can take my word for it. You can do that on amazon.com/store/engblom.gunnar, and then you will come to my store. So it's amazon.com/shop/engblom.gunnar, and that's GUNNAR, right? Okay, so a friend of mine, Svante, Bengt-Göran Svantesson, he said, when I was recommending all these Nordic Noir stories, he recommended a few, and I've actually read some of them. So here we go. I'm going to mention those as well here. And I made a new list on Amazon on that same page where you can see Svante's recommendations. And the thing is, these detective story writers have written quite a few books, and they obviously sort of follow a sequence. And it's kind of nice to start from the top, with the first one. So the first one I'm going to mention is Lars Kepler. That sounds like a very sort of Swedish criminal writer, a man, right? In fact, it's not. It's a pseudonym for Alexandra and Alexander Andoril, and it's a couple, and they write these detective stories about their hero, Jona Linna, from northern Sweden. Sort of, it's almost a Sami name, yeah, I believe. And there are a number of books in this series, As I said, I've read a few of them, and I still have several more to read. And the first one in this area is called The Hypnotist. And that also became a movie by Lasse Hallström. I don't know if you saw that, but it was a great movie. The Swedish director Lasse Hallström, The Hypnotist. And then the couple have kept on writing a lot of different stories: The Nightmare, The Fire Witness, The Sandman. And I think that's as far as I got. I got to The Sandman. I haven't gotten. The next one is called The Stalker, and then there's one that came out recently, The Rabbit Hunter. And I think there is one also coming out next year called, if I'm not, was that him? Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think it was The Knife. Anyway, so that's the first series that you should check out if you haven't done so already, and they're all translated into English. The second author is one that I've read one book of, and I can't remember which one it was, but it's about, again, a detective story, and this about a detective following a long series. This is Jo Nesbø. Now you can learn how to pronounce that in Norwegian as well. So it's Jo Nesbø. And he has the hero is Håle. The guy is Harry Håle, or Harry Hole. You would probably pronounce it Harry Hole. And he's an inspector, and he's hunting serial killers, etc. All the time, right? There's quite an extensive number of books that come out. There's no less than 12 different books. Yeah, I was mistaken here. The Knife was actually the 12th book of Nesbø. So the 12 different books from this, and I've put them in a chronological order here also on the page. It starts with the bat and the cockroaches, etc. And I'm trying to figure out which one I read. I probably would have to start reading them all again. I think it was Nemesis. That rings a bell. Anyway, so that's another great author, the Norwegian guy, Jo Nesbø. And finally, there is also a Swedish criminologist, which is a bit of a superstar in Peru. He's always on television, and he always whenever there's some crime, he will always be interviewed. A very smart guy, Leif W.G. Persson, or Persson in Swedish, right? And he's written a number of books. He predates this Nordic Noir boom. Is that the right word? The boom. Yeah, of books coming out with detective stories written in the 70s. Yeah, and many of those were filmed also very early on. The first one was called The Pig Party, Grisfesten, and that became a film called The Man from Mallorca. And he has also a number of books that are recommended here, and they're in different series. Also, he's got 2 trilogies. The first one is called The Story of a Crime series that I relate to on this list, and the second one is another trilogy, or rather a person that's sort of reappearing in these in his stories, and it's about Evert Bäckström is the police officer, and so there's 3 books there in that series. And then recently there was also a book that came out, and I haven't read that yet, but I will do very soon, and it's the let's see what the name was again. The Dying Detective. So it's one of his characters now getting very old age. One of the his detectives that he introduced as early in the 70s, and now it's called The Dying Detective. And I think he has a brain tumor and sort of working on his cases, but it's only what I read around this. A lot of good books to look forward to, and as I mentioned yesterday, I have my daughter's library account, so I can download to my iPad. I have to watch it though, so I don't download too much, so I don't, go over her limits, so she won't be able to download herself. But it usually works out, and she likes to download the books, what they call them, like Audible type books, like you listen to rather than reading, and I read on my iPad. Finally, of course, Svante also mentioned, and these I'm sure you already read if you're into the Nordic Noir, and there are of course the Stieg Larsson books, and if you haven't checked them out, The Girl That Played with Fire and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and so forth, and then they have now a continuation also. There's a Swedish author who also wrote the biography of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, David Lagercrantz. He has actually taken on the honorary task of continue with the characters from Stieg Larsson's book with Salander, Lisbeth Salander, and Mikael Blomqvist, and the whole Millennium trilogy and the same sort of settings. And I think he's now on the third or even the fourth book in the continuation. So there's a lot to read there as well. And I've read, I think, 2 or 3 of those, the continuation by David Lagercrantz, and they're all right. They follow the very much the same sort of threads, and the characters you recognize the characters the way they are described and so forth. So yeah, enjoyable. So you have a lot of nice books to look forward to if you're a reader. And for me myself, actually, there was a long period that I did not read any nonfiction, any fiction at all, but rather just nonfiction. But it comes in periods, I guess. But this is as good time as ever to do some reading, as we are not allowed to do a lot of traveling and birding and so forth. So I'm reading so much more now. All right, that was about everything I had to say. So do check out my Amazon page, amazon.com/shop/engblom.gunnar. That's Gunnar. And you can see those recommendations there. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you again tomorrow, probably at midday, if I'm able to do an update then, but if not, at night, here on the Colibri Expeditions Facebook page, or during daytime on my profile. These are also shared on Instagram and on YouTube and on Twitter, so you may find them there as well. Have a good night, everyone. See ya.